Hi, welcome back to Ruby Candy Cooking. I'm Deanna.
Oh, you're Deanna?
Yeah.
And who's this? Say something!
I am.
All right, welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking.
I am Miss Mantwell.
Okay, get up.
It's a Miss Mantle.
And I have a
Get up.
flower that I built myself.
Okay, I'll let you show it. I'll let you get out of the way. I'll let you show it.
No.
Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. They had a whole thing planned for you, and they both chickened out. So show it in a second, Ted. You want to say hello to your fans out there who have not seen your cute new haircut? This is the designer of so many great patterns, including the iconic Jam Sandwich, right?
Jane.
Jam Sandwich. And all right, so you want to say anything, or are you good?
I'm good.
Teddy, come back. Teddy just wants to show you his, he's been doing some soldering. Come on over.
Soldering.
Yeah, you
and
can
I
sit on
made
me.
a flower.
We built that flower.
And for some reason it broke today. Oh hi. And for some reason it broke today.
Well, it broke because you were fooling around with it.
No, I was trying to put it out. I was trying to actually take it in my hand.
All right, let me go do my show. It was good seeing you guys.
It belongs in a vase, Joss.
All right, off you go. Off you go.
Bye bye.
All right, see you later. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. Thank you, babies. They're both with me today, obviously, and they both had stuff that they wanted to show and wanted to be seen, of course. So welcome back. It's me, Deanna. Jenny, great to see you. I've got stuff going out for you. Been working on your stuff. Maybe shut the door, would you? Good Lord, it's like we live in a barn, isn't it? Mom, good to see you. I was just talking to you on the phone. We're making plans for this week. Martha, good to see you. I've been missing you. Severe weather watch. All right. What crazy times. I'm not going to start with the weather again because every time I open my mouth it sounds like I'm wishing for a drought and stuff, which I'm definitely not. I would just love it in this part of the country if we could get some kind of summer. But it's been a crazy weather season right across the board. But Martha, I have missed you. I have missed you. We're working on a project together, and I need to get some fire going under me. Isn't it funny how, do you have this too in life where I got so busy for so long, and it was kind of like a slow burn, like, start the company out January 1st, 2020, and then who knew what was going to happen in 2020. And the way that the company's grown, and I'm not bragging, maybe I am a little bit, but now the Facebook group, our Facebook group, Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club, it's ours, is like the second biggest one in the country, which is pretty crazy because we just went leaps and bounds pretty fast. Everything grew so fast, I got used to being insanely busy in an unhealthy way. And I'm not going new agey and crazy on you, but isn't it funny how when the pendulum swings again, you suddenly get perspective and think, this is crazy. I'm being ruled by all of these details. I'm being ruled by orders and things in my head that I haven't even put on the website yet. These crazy finite deadlines that I'm giving myself, and it's super, super unhealthy place. It takes a weird, amount of floating height perspective to look down and say, wait a minute, things are not the way that they should be right now. So I'm going to run a great episode today, and then I'm going to be back to you on Friday. So I think I'm going to look a lot of weeks at running 3 episodes of Coffee Time, Monday, Tuesday, and Friday Night Cocktails, of course. And when I can't do all of those, I'll fool with the days so I can get at least 3 in. And there will be some weeks that I go back to doing 4. But I'm trying to get a little more time with the kids, not just at the studio working, but because it's like 90 degrees here today. It's going to rain as soon as it cools off. But, trying to get a bit of a balance going and still trying to put out a lot of things. But I'm hoping and guessing and banking on the fact that old saying is true, that there's just enough time for everything that's important. I'm banking that that's true because I'm going to test that theory because work is important, this is important, kids are important. So I'm really hoping that I can put them together Tetris style in a way that is a bit more successful than I have been in the recent past. So Martha, that feeds into working on our project together. It's a huge priority to me, so that's going to be the next thing that I tackle in a more aggressive way than I have so far. Catherine, great to see you. Hot and dry in Idaho. Robin, great to see you in Wisconsin. That looks like the sun. It can't possibly be a snowflake. That looks like the sun shining. Linda, yeah, prayers. Linda saying fingers crossed that prayers for the way too dry areas of Canada and the U.S. get the rain they need. So true. It's so true. I remember from my touring days, remember I was a tour guide before I had these kids. It was always a thing going out west. I used to do the California tours right down the coast of California, top to bottom. And that was always a huge concern, weather and sort of disasters, dryness, fires. And then, of course, doing the whole circuit of, the sort of Midwest and the West, Yellowstone Park and Montana and the Dakotas. And there was always that fear and worry. I remember there were many years in Yellowstone where we just couldn't go into the park at all. And people were so angry and disappointed, and understandably, but what can one do, right? Animals on the run because there's fires blazing. It's a scary time of year, and with things going so extreme in every season, we just don't know what we're getting anymore. So prayers for those people, fingers crossed. Kaz, great to see you. Kaz got some great news yesterday. I won't broadcast your news, but I'm very happy for you and for whatever project you're going to start working on. Penny, great to see you. Catherine, great to see you. Tara, great to see you. Kirsten, joyful Tuesday from Vermont. There you go. There you go. I needed that little bump up. Barbara, great to see you. And that reminds me, Barbara, because I think you ordered one too. I'm working on the ice cream kits. I got the velvet from Diane yesterday, and it is so perfect and beautiful. She was so worried it wasn't going to be exactly like my background that I showed in the kind of prototype, and it really is gorgeous and perfect. So I'm working on that. If you have ordered a velvet kit, a couple people said, can you just cut the velvet for me? And it won't be even because I cut it with a rotary cutter and I didn't hook mine even. I'm not perfect with cutting the velvet. But if you want it cut, it will be cut the same way I cut mine, and mine hooked beautifully. I'll show it to you one more time. I got a lot of questions overnight too after showing this about let me take it off the frame, about the cone. And I'm going to show you the dirty little secret behind the cone, so that, because I'm not the best anything. I'm not the best hooker for sure. And, I'm not the best technique person by any means. But this cone was done really simply by running the brown, running straight lines. Actually, the direction is going this way, of the darker color, right? And then I went underneath, basket weave style. This is reversed, so it's hard. So like this, basket weave style, top to bottom. And I went right into every spot and left a mess in the back. I'm going to show you the back so you know what I mean. And then I carefully went under and pulled the lighter loops through. So it's basically a basket weave. And this is the dirty secret. It doesn't look good on the back, right? It still looks all woven. I basically wove it. If you've ever woven like the seat of a chair or anything, pot holder, right? Pot holders. There's only one way to weave something, and it means that there's going to be a lot of extra material and bulk and fooling around in general. But it worked out well. The way that it looks is exactly the way that I hooked it, in that kind of a weave. You could also hook this neater on the front if you prefer the sort of more orthodox looking kind of wicker weave, about 50-50 of both colors. I just did little pops of the lighter color. But it was really not rocket science or surgery by any means. It was just having a go at it, and I think it did work out really well in my opinion. I'm real happy with the result. So I'm putting those kits together, and I'm doing a bit more dyeing for that. I'm waiting on some more wool to come because I've just blasted through a ton of orders so fast, because so far it's working. There's just enough time for everything is working. I'm just blasting through stuff. Amazing. It's amazing how when you change the formula and you try something new and you have a good attitude about it, it's amazing how, whether it's working or not, in my head it's working, right? The placebo effect, it's working, and I'm working so much more productively in the last 24 hours being in a better mindset. So amazing how that works, right? The joy, Kirsten, that is the key to it all, is the joy. So those ice cream kits I'm currently working on, as you know, I'm dyeing 24 colors, but 50 actual colors, because 2 tones of each color, 2 values of each color. So I'm going to be working on that this week, and I'm going to get those out later this week. Thanks for saying hi to Joss and Ted. Good morning, Joy. Good morning, Donna. I'm way behind. I get so distracted, don't I? Thanks, Kaz. I cut, not my hair, her hair. She looks like a bit like the little match girl again, a little bit. I combed it, but it's hard to keep her looking neat. But it is a cute cut, and I might look at it again. This is a little more to cut. And good to see you. And I'm so happy for everybody who's signing up for the dye class. More on that in a second. Thanks, Catherine. I do. I work really hard, and I love it. And I don't want to lose the business, and I don't want to lose the friends, and I don't want to disappoint. And I just keep going. Beverly, good to see you. Catherine, good to see you in Southern California. Good. All right, so listen, I've been working on a few things, and I'm going to get to some commentary too, and I want to show you the rugs behind me. But you know what I was doing yesterday, because we were talking about punch a little bit, and I don't have any update on that. So I am going to say really carefully, I'm going to say if you are a puncher as opposed to a hooker, you already know that in the last months, right, and through COVID, it has been very hard to get monk's cloth from anybody. And there was a supply and demand problem that originates, you know, in a different part of the world. So having said that, I mentioned yesterday on Coffee Time that I've always gotten my monk's cloth from the same place, and I'm not going to say, right, I'm not going to say, but I will say I waited forever for it to come, and when it did come, I couldn't tell by looking at it, but it really was a different monk's cloth. And once I looked at it and heard that people were having problems with punching it, not hooking it is brilliant, punching it, that it was difficult. Then I tried punching it myself, and I thought, I can punch it, but it is more difficult because it's not the same monk's cloth. So this is for me, this is a problem as somebody with a business who puts out kits and teaches. I need to know that my product is the same from one shipment to the next. That is crucial for me, crucial. So what I want to put out there in terms of what you need to know if you are a puncher, when you order monk's cloth, just during this time that people are changing their suppliers and doing whatever it takes to meet the demand supply problem, when you are ordering monk's cloth and it is specifically for punching, make sure that you speak to someone first and say, will this be good monk's cloth for punching? Because you know you're not ordering the stupid monk's cloth, the Joann's monk's cloth, the Amazon monk's cloth. Rug hooking monk's cloth should be good for punching. And the last batch I got is not good for punching. So don't let that happen to you too, because it's not cheap, particularly when you buy a bolt or a giant bolt. Just make sure that you ask. So what I'm going to do to fix my problem and my peace of mind thing is from now on I'm switching my monk's cloth, and I'm only getting the monk's cloth that Amy Oxford uses. And that comes through door. So I was getting a lot of different stuff in a lot of different places because I had personal preferences about how things felt and how things handled. But because of this, I'm too freaked out, right? I'm like deer in the headlights, running scared. So from now on, the only way that I know I'm getting the right monk's cloth is if I'm ordering it from door and using the one that Amy supplies and is associated with that is sold through door. So again, the point of all that is to say, if you are a puncher, be really careful about this. If you have started punching and you're thinking, I'm having much more of a struggle than I anticipated, it can be that you're not as tight as a drum, that your backing is not tight enough. It can be that you're trying to pull through a gauge or rather a thickness of yarn or wool strip that is just too big for your needle. It could be a lot of things, but it could also be that your monk's cloth is a little bit too glossy, shiny, flippity-floppity, not quite substantial enough to be really proper monk's cloth for rug hooking. So be aware of that. So Jenny says, I'm new to rug hooking. I've only completed one piece. Well, Jenny, the thing about the Amazon monk's cloth is, and this is like one of the horrible punchlines with rug hooking, there's not a lot. There's two things that really stand out as being truly fundamentally stupid. One of them is the phrase monk's cloth, because there are two kinds of monk's cloth that are both fabrics, and they are both gridded, and they are both white. So this is a huge problem. I don't know why it evolved this way, but most monk's cloth that you'll find on Amazon is the very stiff monk's cloth that is meant for needlepoint and cross stitch. So needlework, work done with a needle as opposed to a hook, and it will not work at all for rug hooking or punch needle. When you're buying backing fabric, it really has to be from a rug hooking place, so that you know that it's the rug hooking / punch needle monk's cloth and not the other monk's cloth. I know that's so bad and so confusing. Typically the stuff, at least at my Joann's and my Michael's, the monk's cloth is still the wrong monk's cloth. It really has to be for a rug hooking store. I sell it through my shop, and I'm extra careful now about particularly the monk's cloth. The linen for me is never a problem because I use Michelle McRelly's linen, so I don't question that at all, and I only use Dora wool. So these things I don't question at all. It's just the monk's cloth that's an issue for me. I forget where I get my rug warp from. Can't even remember, in my weaver's cloth, which I stock too for people that do mini punch needle. So Jenny, in answer, monk's cloth is one of those things. There's two different kinds. You might have bought, I'm sorry, but you might have bought the wrong kind. Maybe not, but the Amazon kind is typically the kind that's for needle crafts like cross stitch and needlepoint needlework. So possibly bad. But what I will say about that is there are a lot of buy and sell groups on Facebook if you're on Facebook, and there are people who buy supplies that you bought by accident or you don't use, and maybe you can recoup the money or even return it with Amazon, right? You should be able to return it for a long time for no charge at all, and get the right kind somewhere else. Just to follow that thought through, the other thing that's very confusing for beginners is the punch needle, because there are two kinds of punch needles. There's this sort of traditional punch needle that we associate with the Amy Oxford punch, and that is the large punch needle that you get a lot of attraction, a lot of distance, a lot of speed with. And there are two of needles in that category, the fine and the regular, plus a whole bunch of numbers that correspond to the pile or the height of the finished loop when you're punching. So only thin ones for thin fibers and wool strips, and the thicker one, which is called the regular, as opposed to the fine, for thicker gauge yarn and wider wool strips. That's punch needle, as we often talk about it, but there is a second punch needle that's sometimes called miniature punch, sometimes called Russian punch, and that is the tiny punch needle that has almost a syringe kind of top. And if you're even fooling around with, for example, DMC floss, that's even too thick to go through most mini punch needles. So more on mini punch in the future from me at Ribbon Candy Hooking, but those are the two things that for beginners will trip you up real good, real fast. The differences between punch needles and the differences between monk's cloth. Those are two things I feel that there should be more language there to prevent people from making terrible mistakes with buying. Hey, Debbie, good to see you. Debbie says, I'd like to try dyeing, but I'm concerned about chemicals. What's the safest method? So the safest method, there are two ways to dye. So one of them will be natural dyes, and one of them is chemical dyes, of course. So I will say, in my opinion, I use chemical dyes because they're a lot cheaper. They're a lot more reliable in terms of the result. They're a lot sort of faster. It's mostly, for me, expense. From a business point of view, it's very hard to buy. I do have all the natural dyes, and I will get into them probably more toward the fall. But I mean, when you're buying specific pigments, you are looking at a tiny quantity for sometimes 30, 40, 50, 70, 80 kind of dollars. So it's hard to put together a full palette using the natural dyes. The benefit of using the natural dyes is you can use your regular kitchen stuff and you're not handling anything dangerous. You can also go foraging if you want, and if that sounds interesting. And I love this part of it. I did episodes last fall on using like the black walnuts, right? Black chestnuts, black walnuts, and did some dyeing of browns with those. When you're dyeing with natural materials, I always look at, what was her name? Jenny Wild, Jenny Ware, Jenny... Help me out if you remember that dyeing book that I reviewed that was so good. It was my favorite of all the dyeing books that I was looking at. There was Jenny begins with a W. She did a real definitive one for me. The thing with gathering natural dye material, like, people will say, well, just go to your grocery store and ask them for all of the onion peels, like the onion skins, because they always have big bags of that. This is a good way of going about it too, if you have the time and it's interesting to sort of plant stuff. But remember, if you're planting a dyeing garden, you're looking at usually multiple years, not 1 year, for the stuff to come up and be usable. The cons of using chemical dyes, because they are inexpensive, and there is a huge variety, and there's a great fineness of color, and there's lots of companies that package them beautifully, and they're very easy to handle, and it's very reliable, repeatable results. But of course, when you're using these dyes, you absolutely cannot use your normal kitchen pots and pans. If you do casserole dyeing, multicolor spot dyeing, you cannot use your casserole stuff. Everything has to be designated for using the chemical dyes. But having said that, as a person who dyes almost every day, you put on either a regular mask, or if you anticipate doing it a lot, put on a mask, from Amazon with a respirator built in, just to be extra sure that you're covered, because the dye powder is dangerous when it's in the air. Now, it shouldn't be in the air, but small quantities might be in the air. So I like to have a mask with a respirator, and I like to have gloves to protect my skin. Not that it's dangerous, I don't think, to your skin. It's just so much color that's so hard to get back out. And of course, it's dangerous to your countertop or anything you might spill on. But using the chemical dyes is fast, is very easy, and it's not, for me, it's not quite as scary as it sounds. It's very easy to manage very small amounts of dyes with small scoops, keeping things sealed. And of course, as soon as that powder dye hits the water and the fabric, it's really not dangerous anymore. It's when it's airborne that it's dangerous. Once it's in the water and you're stirring it, you're fine again. You just don't want powder, floating around or getting onto your food or your dishes. So it is a different game, but in my opinion, unless you're of a lifestyle where you'd like things to be very natural and very green, then you should maybe go for the natural dyes, and there's a lot of them for sale on Etsy. Otherwise, the chemical dyes for me have always worked great. Just be careful about your mask, your gloves, covering your surfaces. I just use garbage bags to cover my surfaces. I rarely have issues with things getting stained. I just put my stuff away in the basement, so it's never going to be confused with my kitchen stuff and my food stuff. I keep my drink, my beer, my wine, my whatever I'm drinking on a different counter while I'm dyeing. I'm just careful and thoughtful while I'm doing it. And it works fine. People have been dyeing with chemical dyes, right? Cushing started in like the middle of the 19th century and have done just fine with them. I think it really becomes a question of, are you okay with buying more pots, pans, and all that stuff to have all those secondary things so that you're not mixing it with your food stuff? If that isn't like a horrible thought, going to Goodwill and collecting some pans and all that stuff and having that separate, then I think chemical dyes are a lot easier to use. For me, they have been, for sure. And of course, I am having a dyeing class. I showed the box yesterday. I shipped the Canada boxes yesterday. That dye class is $95 plus shipping, and it comes, I think at the end of the day, what did I have, like 12 or 13 colors, like pure colors that are going out to you with this dye class. At least 8 or 9 of them are in those squirt bottles, the hairdresser bottles, and the rest are in pots. I don't fool with bags anymore. I cannot fool with bags anymore. Because I think that is a good way to get stuff airborne, is when you're popping open a Ziploc bag. I just don't do that anymore. I use the screw off little pots, and I give you little spoons so you can take out whatever quantity you want and put it in and cap it up again. Done and sealed. Nothing floating when you seal, and then there's a few more particles in the air to go up your nose. I'm real careful about how I package stuff now too with my chemical dyes, plus the synthropol and the citric acid and all that stuff for dyeing. So yesterday, along those lines, I was cutting up this. I don't know if you can see this fabric, but this is one of the effects, one of the colors that we're doing in the dye class. So although it's called Summer of Love, this is pretty psychedelic colors on one side, and it's an ombre dye effect. Once we do the sort of rainbow dyeing in class, once you get that, you get these strands that change from very sort of dark on one side, right, this side, to being very sort of rainbow and light on the other. And as you can imagine, I mean, I'm kitting these now, putting them into kits, but it's very hard to part with colors like this because they're so yummy. But we are doing this exact color in the dye class, and of course it's repeatable. We're also doing this skein in the dye class, which I'm having trouble using because I love it so much. And what I did yesterday, this I'm going to run over for sure in today's episode. What I did yesterday was I started fooling around with punch because I was very worried about this monk's claw situation, and I needed some kind of closure. And I started drawing some patterns. I always draw like this big on an envelope. Some patterns that I thought might be good, lending themselves to late summer and fall. And I did this sketch. I don't want to tread on Kirsten's toes, who's the cat master, but I did a couple cat heads that could easily be changed to anything, with sunflower hats, top hat, and like Easter bonnet, and some autumn trees in the back. And just, this is like the work of 2 minutes, right? And then I transferred it onto my old monk's cloth, right? My old monk's cloth. And I started punching it with this stuff, and I was having such a ball. It punched great with the old velvet, but I just want to show you how that punches. Super, 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 super yummy and fun. So what I'll do is what I do all the time with punch. When I'm punching it, course, you're punching it on the wrong side and then you flip it over. There's not a lot of information here, just what you've punched. There will come a time with punching this pattern and all my patterns where I then flip them over for myself and fill them in with rug hooking. So I like to do a combo because I do want the details in my work. But man, this honestly is less than 5 minutes just getting this much in. Pop, 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 pop with the punch needle. And then, you know, flipping it over and get those fine lines in with the rug hook. It's a good combo. So I was working on that, and then I was working on some other designs. I did this one quickly yesterday too for people who are going to be taking the class in Maine the last weekend of August. It's a play on the squirrel that we've done before, but a really small version for beginners. And then I'm working on this right now too. I have to show you this. Joss drew this, one of her, you know, really late night. Penny, you love the cats. I know you love the cats. One of these late night drawings she does in bed when she doesn't want to go to sleep, and she knows it's hard for me to say, you have to put your drawing stuff away, because I love it when she draws. So I did that little design like this as a possible beginner's kit, and I actually punched it all in an hour last night. I can't show you because you'll know why another time, but I can't show you the finished thing because it's a bit of a surprise right now. But I love the way that this little lamb, and this isn't really a rainbow, I was just defining the space, more like an illumination, a frame on like a monk's, you know, the page of illumination rather than a rainbow. It's not a rainbow. But I love the way that this little guy turned out. And when I was working on it, Jay came in and said, you know what that reminds me of is that story that came out earlier this year in Australia. Do you remember the sheep called Barak, but it's Ba-Rak, like B-A-A-A, Barak? The sheep got away from his home in Australia and was wandering for something like 7 or 8, well, actually they don't know. They don't know how long he was wandering, a long time. And he grew to be, because nobody was shearing his wool, he grew to be over 75 pounds. Oh, just the wool, not the body, just the wool. And when he was found, he was in real bad shape. His body was okay, and he was eating fine, but nobody had taken care of his wool. So he was in real bad shape. So they sort of rehabilitated him. They sent him to a place where they sheared him beautifully. He looks like, there's a video, I'll have to post it. He looks like he's like a little prancing baby all over again once he's free of all that weight. But he looked like a true hot mess in the video before he got sheared, and he looks just like this sheep. So I'm working on that too, some new designs. Let me catch up on some of these comments. Let's see. No problem, Jenny. All right, I'd love to answer questions here too. Okay, so Martha says, I think that the natural dyes have safety risks because the mordants are heavy metals. That, you know, Martha, that is a great point. You're using different mordants when you're using the natural dyes. That's a very good point, and they are heavy metals, absolutely. Chromium, aluminum, iron, absolutely. And you're using heavy metal mordants to either dull or brighten your colors too. So, I mean, you're sometimes using heavy metals more than once during the process, depending on if you're happy with the color and you want to go back in and dull it or something. Then you are using those products. Martha is a scientist, so she well knows this too. And I guess the point is, and it's a very solid point, it's not completely safe either way, right? That is a really solid point. I never thought of it that way. I'm thinking about the packets of dye, but you're right. That's a really, really important facet to deciding whether it's worth going that much more expensive route with the natural dyes. They are beautiful. They are beautiful, and they are different. And it is hard to get, for me, it is hard to get the same color twice, the same exact color twice with natural dyes. But I haven't done as much of it as I have chemical dyeing. And as I say, in the fall, I think it's a good time of the year to return to the subject of natural dye. I'll experiment more then, but Martha, that's a very solid point. Oh, you love the sheep, Relda, do you? Yeah, I was trying to just make some easy patterns for people who are taking classes soon. Anne says, love the cat pattern, I need it. Oh, you just got a new kitty, Anne. Oh, you have to write the name of the kitty. You remember that story, Barbara, about Barak the sheep that wandered off, and 75 pounds of wool. Can you imagine that poor little thing on those little knobbly knees? walking around with that much weight. I mean, I know that feeling after 2020. Not quite that much weight, but pretty close. That's a lot of extra weight. So anyway, I wanted to talk to you about a few other things. I want to look at the Midwest book, but I don't even know if we're going to get there. Oh, this is the pattern I started punching with a little squirrel on it. Now, I'm not going to stick with punch. Even a low pile punch for me with this pattern is too much, but I was just experimenting with the color. I think it's going to be a good beginner pattern when that comes out. I wanted to show you some stuff today, and this is one of the things. This came in the mail yesterday. I'm wondering if you are a member of ATHA, the Association of Traditional Rug Hooking Artists, if you also received this yesterday, and I have not opened it yet. So I thought, let's open this together. I'm not going to go over it point by point, but let's see what the main articles are in this month's ATHA. If you are new to rug hooking, ATHA is like a guild, and you probably have a chapter, hopefully right near you, where you can join. It's a social group, but also a lot of information, a lot of speakers come to ATHA meetings. You pay a yearly amount, and whoever your chapter sets up lines up to speak or demonstrate. That is always fun during meetings, monthly meetings, I think in most chapters. So I love ATHA. Joining ATHA as a chapter is different than joining with a subscription to the magazine. You can get a subscription to ATHA magazine by going on their site, ATHA, without being a member of a chapter of ATHA. This is a beautiful magazine. I love Rug Hooking Magazine, but to me, I look forward to ATHA at least as much as Rug Hooking Magazine. They always give you a free pattern. Ooh, I hope this isn't going to be a spoiler alert. They always give you a free pattern, so let's see what it is. This, I always open right to the centerfold, right? Like I'm a dirtbag looking at Playboy magazine or something. Let's see what they gave us this month. It is a sunflower for your door, August, September 2021, designed by Judy Cripps of Rustic Rugs. That is pretty. So this pattern is there in the centerfold this month. And we've got, oh, isn't that nice? Forget Me Not by Jean Guesswine. Forget Me Not pocket pattern. We'll see what that looks like. There's a few. Oh, there's a big central pattern too. Oh, there's two. Wow, look at this. You're going to love this. Tattered Tulip by Sandra Porter, Woodland Junction. Right? Isn't that gorgeous for a primitive? And this one, sorry, right outside the door, they're having a good old joke. Primula, Waiting on Spring. Primula, Waiting on Spring, by Mary Jo Taylor. This is a beautiful one too. Absolutely beautiful. So all those are in the centerfold this month. Let's look at what some of the major articles are in case you are interested in joining. They usually don't send you the current month, but you know that you can buy it or it'll pop up. They have lots of nice features every month. Catherine, I wonder if you put something in here. Region 1, that's my region. That's the Connecticut region. The region number 1 started in the 1970s, right around the Hartford area. Region 1 put in primitive florals. So this is going to be a great article on looking at hooking primitive florals. It looks like some of those designs are the designs that are in the center. So that's really nice. I know I have this design. That's an antique rug. I know I have that in the other room. Chester. The cat's name is Chester. Isn't that sweet, Anne? Aww. Primitive florals. Okay, so this is a theme this month. Primitive florals is a theme. Primitive florals from across the ATHA network. So these are put in by examples of primitive florals put in from ATHA members all over the place, not just Chapter 1. I'm going to have to look at these in painstaking detail because it's just pages and pages and pages of flower baskets. That is just, doesn't really get any better than that, does it? An article called Be Still and Hook by Christine Goyer of Stevensville, Michigan, the Western Reserve chapter. Isn't that nice? She's using a lot of hands in her work. I love it, kind of hands to work, heart to God, right? That sort of idea. Absolutely beautiful. I remember when I visited Haley at Loop by Loop in Warren, Rhode Island, I guess last year. She had some beautiful stuff that she did with hands too. That is really, it's a great motif to go to. Yeah, it's just, every page I turn, I don't want to show you every page. Pages and pages of full color examples of primitive florals. I mean, you're just going to flip your flipper when you see this. An article by Martha Lowry, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, A Walk in the Garden, the Floral Rugs of Judy Songe, probably Songe. So this I'm going to have to read and report back. This looks like it's going to be some serious work here, scholarly work, reading the article and assimilating it. Oh wow, yeah, Judy had some beautiful work. So this issue is very heavy in primitive florals, and they are all, this is probably the prettiest looking issue I've seen so far, honestly. The Seven Sisters, ATHA Region 6. Yeah. So I detect a theme. You know, at the end of each of these episodes of ATHA, the magazines, they give a call out for future things. So if you look and see what they're looking for in the future, obviously months ago they were looking for primitive florals, and people sent them in, and then we get a lush article like this that is just chock full of primitive florals. Make sure if you get this magazine that you do look in the back and you do see what they're looking for. So Mary Jo Taylor writes an article for this too, and I can see included is one of her designs that she has in the middle. You know, she does this beautiful primitive style in what I would describe as kind of deserty colors. Really, really distinctive. This is the piece that she put into the center. That's a free pattern for the month, this one here. So this whole article is by her. It's called Diamonds in the Garden. It's a nice, nice, nice spread. Very much her style, very primitive style, but as I say, her palette is so distinctive. It's not like anybody else. I can't stop. Holy mackerel. Do you see how a couple of these for me have a real game board quality? Absolutely. I hope that you're getting this issue. I hope that you subscribe. I can't keep going, but you're, yes, one more. Ozark Mountain Hookers. Talk about inspiration, right? And you know, this one here looks like, if Lisa, if you're watching, that pine cone pattern that we've talked about before, the heirloom pine cone pattern, it isn't, but it certainly has shades of that. So look out for your ATHA issue. If it's not there, maybe it will be there today. Forget Me Not door hanger. That's what that came from. Oh, Martha, your issue won't make it there for about 3 weeks. That's a bummer. Well, this, honestly, I think this, for me, in terms of eye candy, this is pretty much my favorite issue that I've seen so far. I'm going to be devouring this for days. This is unbelievable. Honestly, this is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. You're going to love this issue. It is an all floral issue. I will say that. It's an all floral issue. So that's exciting. Now, I want to show you some of the rugs I got last weekend. Not this past weekend. This was my teaching weekend, but remember the weekend before, I went to the ATHA meeting, the Quiet Corner chapter in Connecticut, which takes place at Donna's shop, Whispering Hill, and we have a date there later in August. I'll put a post on our Facebook group for that, because it'd be nice to know who's coming. I really hope, if there's any chance you can come, that you will, because I love to see people in person. It's going to be such a fun day, and I cannot overemphasize, even in terms of a long road trip, this place is unbelievable. It is like a wrinkle in time for rug hookers. So much new old stock. It's crazy. There just isn't another store like this. So I hope that you can make it, and I'll put a post so I can get a feel for who's going to be there. Hey Lisa, I was just talking about you. You found some beautiful rugs when you were cruising around this weekend at an antique store. That geometric one is still in my head. But I want to show you the rugs I found the weekend that I went to Donna's, because one of the benefits of going to the Quiet Corner for an ATHA chapter meeting in Woodstock is that one town over is Putnam, Connecticut. Putnam is one of these beautiful old-timey towns, industrial past, factory past, right on this busy, bubbling kind of river with a little waterfall. They have two enormous antique stores. One is a 4-story, but still charming on the inside, still super charming. It's not like vast and sterile, right next door to each other. And it's in one of those stores that I found all of the rugs behind me, $22 each. Don't be mad. I'm going to end up selling a lot of these because I can't possibly keep them all, but I cannot leave them there for various reasons. So Putnam is one town over from Woodstock. It's 5 minutes away, and it is so nice to go to a hook in there and then cruise around the antique stores, because you never know what you're going to find. So this is what I found. Let me show you some of the rugs I found. This is one of them. Again, these were $22 each. So I'm going to push this back a little bit. Maybe get a bit more distance. We'll get a little distance just for a minute. This is an oval. You know, it's not like probably going to change your life, but I thought it was, for $22, absolutely beautiful. Super fine cut. It's got some issues for sure, right? You can see there's like a hole here. Super fine cut. This is like a 3 for sure. I hope you can see that. I'm not in focus myself, but really fine cut. Beautifully hooked. They had some kind of a non-skid mat under it because you can see from the back there's a crazy pattern going on. But, you know, it is what it is. I'm not going to use it on the back. I'm going to use it on the front. And you see the color loss is not that tremendous. It's not that noticeable. But for $22, you know, can you imagine how much work is in something like this? I just couldn't. I couldn't leave it there to languish. It was on the floor, rolled up, and people were actually stepping on it rolled up. So that just obviously cannot be. Now, weirdly, this was in the same stall, and it is the same rug. Now, and it is also an oval, a roval. So weirdly, I'm guessing it's the same person who did the same pattern. I don't know. I have not seen this pattern. I don't know if this is maybe a homemade pattern, and it was just so good they did it twice. But the curious thing about this being the exact same rug, slightly different colors, you can come over, baby, is that this one is hooked huge. This is like ripped. This is beyond an 8. This is hooked huge. So isn't that interesting that these two came from the same stall, the same pattern, the same size, many of the same colors, but two completely different cuts. One of the things I want to show you about this rug, something I want you to look for, will make a pact between us. When you see this at an antique store, this is so bad. Do you see what they've done here? They have put, and I'm going to take it out as soon as the episode is over, they have put a thing, and I'm not even sure the price tag was even on there, the clip, what is this called, safety pin, right into the edge of the rug. So as if this rug did not have enough problems, now there's a new, very dramatic hole because this pin has been tugged on because it is right on the edge, like an earring that's half ripped out, and people have been stepping on it. So if you ever see this business, I would make an executive decision right then and there and fix it. Take it out, pin it somewhere, you know, safe to back here. Not even. I would just put it next to it or on it. But that really is bad. That's really bad. So anyway, those two came from the same stall, $22 each. Yeah, Linda, is that nutty? Now, here's another one, same stall, $22. And again, I don't know this pattern. It might be that it is a commercial pattern. I just haven't found it yet, or I'm not remembering. Let's see if I can back up a bit. It's quite big. It's like a hearth rug size. It's quite wide. I'd call this definitely at least more than 4 feet wide. Quite a big rug, but you can see another oval. I'm thinking it's the same person. This is right in the middle in terms of the cut. This looks like a 5 to me. Done with a lot of, I'm going to bring it closer, done with a lot of sort of tweed colors. You see that red kind of coming and going? Beautiful background. And the thing about this one, I know you got shadows showing. Those aren't shadows. Those are actually different colors to the petal with that tweedy background. And in that tweedy background, I'm trying to safely handle the rug too without wasting a ton of your time. I want to show you the back of it because you can see it a bit better. The colors, the tweedy colors they have going. And I want to show you the center of the flower. There we go. See how they're actually using two colors. It's like the black and white tweed, which is probably clothing. And then they've got kind of an army green tweed. Now what they might have done is over-dyed something here. That's entirely possible because you see the red dots, right in the center with the green. They really look like the red dots in the rest of the piece, right? Like, let me show you the front again because there's red dots all over the place. I'm thinking they might have done some very basic over-dyeing. See the red dots? I know, I wonder too, Linda, how they determined 22 for all of the rugs in that stall. I mean, it's such an odd price, and they had some beautiful, very high-end primitive stuff in that stall, but they obviously didn't place a huge value on the hooked rugs. So this is the last one that was $22, same stall. So I got those 4 in the same stall. Can you imagine how my hands were shaking while I was rolling them up and putting them in my arms and walking them downstairs to be behind the counter so no one else could get them? Yeah, I was like shaking like a leaf. I was going out of my mind. Now, what I love about this one, again, this being in the group of the others makes me think it's the same person still. No information on that at all. But again, if you recognize this pattern, give me a shout out, because I don't. And it is a little bit of a pig's breakfast. It has a hole in the middle. But I love this design. It is so odd. You can see the many places where they have run out of color. Going from gray to the sort of dove gray to kind of slate gray to light blue, just making it work. That is what I love the most about rug hooking. I love to see that moment, looking at a rug close up where you go, yeah, they ran out, and they're switching it up. And isn't that great? Isn't that great? It creates almost a tempest kind of emotion. I'll show you this one a little bit closer up. There's that hole. I mean, isn't that beautiful, though? All those different colors, all those different greens. So yeah, those four, $22 each, no brainer. I'm going to show you the last one I got. This one was at a different stall. This one was $40. So I got sticker shock for 5 seconds, and then I thought, what am I thinking? This is enormous. This is the biggest one yet. This is much bigger than me. So this is closer to 5 feet long, definitely over 4.5. So it's quite a big floral, but you see all the work they've done in the center with the blues. Hard to show. Oh, my shoulders. This gets my shoulder. Let me see if I can bring you closer. See some of the blue close up. They did a lot with this sort of Delft blue colors and all these pinks. It has a real mosaic quality. Hold on one second. I'm going to bring you back here to me. And I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to show you the back of it, right? Because somebody really loved this rug. Would never be that low priced. Yeah, so we're talking about the price and the thread here. 22 is very low. One of those rugs had a hole in the center. The rest had predictable damage around the edge because of the way they were bound, just sewn under, not protected at all. $22 for any of those rugs was crazy. It was very, very low. What should they be? It really depends. I don't recognize any in that pile of 4 as being a commercial pattern. I don't know that they're not sort of mutations of a commercial pattern, or they copied part of their neighbor's pattern and then blinged out the rest with just stripies and shapes. It's hard to tell without doing research, which I haven't done. So for me, looking at those rugs, I would expect to see them at an antique store, more like something like 85 to 120, that kind of number. And even that could be low if these are indeed original patterns. That would still be low. In terms of color and appeal, these were very appealing to me. So 20 anything was completely a no-brainer. This one at 40, I think it was actually 44, is still a no-brainer. I loved this one. I loved the colors, and I loved the amount of repairs on the back of it. It's a lot of repairs, right? I mean, and it's not great, but it's nice to see these old repairs. Let me come back to you. It's nice to see old restoration, because you know way back when somebody loved this rug enough to patch it like 8 times on the back. So just to keep it going. It's so nice to find things like this. It is hard to find things like this. Relda says would never be that low priced here, no doubt. Would on average be about 100. Here too, this was extremely low. And for an antique center, you don't expect to find these in an antique center at this price. For New England, this is super low. This is lower than what I would expect to pay at a flea market, like finding them out on the wet grass. I would expect to pay more than 20-something a rug, or more than 40-something a rug. Even at a flea market, I would expect to find these rugs in the 50s to 80s at a flea market with someone who had no idea. But in an antique center, this is completely unheard of. I mean, I have never found such nice rugs in an antique center at this price. And the fact that 4 were in one stall and 1 was right around the corner in another stall, I made out like a bandit that day. I celebrated by eating so many hot dogs from the gas station. You can imagine how well that went on the long ride home. So it was a great day. I celebrate in crazy ways, celebrate in self-destructive ways. I love the blue one too, Kaz. It has a nice sort of tile design to it. It's got geometry, but it's mixed with the softness. This geometric is broken with the soft lines, right? So, I mean, it makes me think of talking about modern rugs that we were doing last week when we were saying how Rosa and Zoltan Hex both designed in a different style, and her style, although they were both geometric, her style was very fluid and round. This kind of design reminds me of her style. It's a bit too romantic looking. It's a bit too deco looking to be considered a modernist rug. I'm sure it's not a modernist rug. But it has a good look. And at the end of the day, it's all about appeal, isn't it? It's what you like. If you like the color, sometimes I buy a rug just for the color because I love purple. When I find a rug with a lot of purple, I go nuts. It really depends on what you like. But yeah, this was a great haul. And these prices are not typical of anywhere. These are way too low. So I hope you enjoyed looking at them. I mean, it's the second best thing to being there together. And if you end up going to the hook-in, you can be sure that immediately after the hook-in, I'll go over to the antique stores and then probably pop across the street to have a little bit of food and a drink and stuff. So we could do that together if you're there at Donna's at Whispering Hill next month when we have our little hook-in. But yeah, I will always keep you abreast of rugs that I'm getting, because when they're this low, I get them. And then I decide later if I want to keep them or if I want to sell them. And I am still thinking about an auction. I just didn't realize that Searsport ran auctions. I didn't realize that at all. So I feel like I'm kind of, if not stepping on toes, that maybe it's a bit redundant. So I'm still thinking about it and working that out. But in any case, I hope that you loved seeing those rugs. We looked at the ATHA magazine together. Next week at some point, I want to talk to you about yet another thing, another mail-related thing. Our episodes are getting so big now. There's so much to say. I'll do this next week, but I got this giant parcel from the Rug Hooking Guild of Nova Scotia, so RHGNS, because I became a member of the teaching or teachers chapter, because it's that group who bought the rights to the Garrett Bluenose patterns, and they have them available for sale as a PDF. So comprehensive list of patterns and patterns that you can now buy again. Finally, again, the Garrett Bluenose patterns are available. So I joined the guild as an international member, and this came from Canada. So next week I want to open this packet and go through it with you, because there's so many things. I know the border to Canada for we Americans is still closed, but there are so many things that they gave us in here to look at, brochures of rug hooking studios, interesting things. So we'll look at this together next week. You can see they sent me an enormous packet when I became a member, and it's all stuff that's about rug hooking and interesting for us, so I want to share that. But certainly do, whether you are Canadian, European, American, certainly do check out the Rug Hooking Guild of Nova Scotia, because particularly the teachers chapter, they really should be reimbursed for the work that they've done with these Garrett Bluenose patterns. They should be at least treading water financially, because they do such a good job. And this was such a good turn that they were able to get hold and control and rights to these patterns to make them available again after a long time. We want them and we want to hook them, and they're the people that arranged that. So check them out and see if you are in a good place to join with a membership or anything that can support their organization. I'm going to take, like I said, I'm only going to run coffee time 3 times this week, and it was Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. I'm planning on, sorry, I can't breathe. I'm planning on taking the next 2 days to just do orders and hang out with the kids. So I won't Zoom this week, but I will see you on Friday for bingo night. Kira just finished the bingo cards. Thank you to Kira. The sort of animal and plants, the living things edition. Many, many people ended up sending pictures of their rugs in, so it will be a really down-home, us night, looking at each other's projects, and that is Friday night. So make sure that you go on to Ribbon Candy Hooking to buy your bingo cards so that they're printed. We will send them to you tomorrow, or possibly even tonight. Make sure that they're printed and you're ready to play at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Ribbon Candy Hooking channel. We're going to play bingo, and the cards are 16 squares this time. So we're looking at an episode that's about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes long for all of us, so that it's not quite so verbose. So we will be doing that together on Friday. And in the meantime, have a great week. Keep your eye on the page. I'm putting tons of stuff up for sale. Send me any questions you might have, and I will see you for some fun and games on Friday at cocktail night. See you then.